Brittany Brooke.
I'm Kendra Joe.
Her last name is also Brooke. We're sisters. We are the Brook Sisters. And we're both songwriters, singers, musicians, actors, writers, directors, managers, creators, filmers.
Into that evening glow. get your smile off of my face. I can't get your smile off of my face. I can't get your smile off of my face.
You guys are both songwriters. You do that a fair amount. Can you tell me a little bit about your process and what you're doing and kind of the things that are interesting to you as songwriters?
Most of the time I just find something that really inspires me, makes me feel really strongly, and then I think that a song needs to be written about it. And not because people need to hear that song, because there are a million songs probably like it, but mostly just for myself, just so that I can feel things in a different way.
I've been trying to boil it down the last few years, so I think about, I usually take a Friday night or a Saturday night when I have the house alone, and I think about what's present in my life, what's current, what is most pressing on my heart, and I write as much as I can about it. Usually 3 or 4 pages, sometimes 10, sometimes just a page. And the song can either be born right then, or it can take weeks to months. And I write as much as I can, and then I go back and I highlight the phrases that I really like, and I boil it down, For me, it's like all about poetry. Once I have a perfect poem, I feel like it's meshed out, choruses, verses, I start to write the melody.
I think that because I'm such a musician before I'm a songwriter, or like even a singer, I'm a musician before I sing. I think a lot of times the melodies come from like a lick that I hear, or they come from like just an idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, if banjo, fiddle, and mandolin could play this line together, and then it stops like this, and then it does that, blah blah blah, and then it's like I have this thing in my mind, and this like texture design of like what the instruments are doing texturally, and then from there I write the lyrics. So that I start a lot of my tunes just from the instrument. When I write because I can hear like a whole bluegrass band in my mind. So I think we write. That's so cool. And like I recently wrote a song where I decided, I was like, you know what, you've been writing songs that fit your voice and like the limitations of my voice, and I don't like that, so I decided to write a song and imagine Dolly Parton singing it, and imagine what like Dolly Parton would want to do and the riffs she would want to do, and I ended up writing this song that I really like, and I'm not completely capable of singing it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I will be because I'm shooting for like the Dolly sound. So that was cool. Rather than staying in this range, I was like, oh, Dolly would sing way up here, so I'm gonna write for Dolly, you know. And so that was a weird thing,
Actually, Kendra, honestly, did you feel tonight like I wrote If Wishes Were Fishes higher than I could sing at the time, and I wrote Toast higher than I could sing, and tonight they were like piece of cake easy. I did that for myself, and it took years. Like I wrote those 6 years ago, but you're right, like you have to write harder than your voice, because we were always singers. We grew up in a family that sang and played instruments, but Kendra and I have also always been told that we're like the bottom of our singing class. You know, teachers are like, you're not good enough to be on Broadway, you're not good enough to be in this class. I never made it to the musical theater track. I auditioned twice. Kendra did make it. She made it in, and we had a hard time the whole way.
Barely.
So that's fine, and it was good for us. We both took lots of private lessons. We continue to take private lessons. We continue to try and get better at our voices every week. But I think we're so good at being brave that it doesn't matter. We don't have to be the best, right? We are saying this because even if we bomb, we're very good at picking it back up and be like, hey, it's fine.
That's really important.
Our dad always said there are pickers and grinners, but there are few who can do both. Picking bluegrass especially, like picking a mandolin, picking a banjo.
You've been really inspired by people like Joni Mitchell and Dolly Parton and kind of like all this this really rich tradition of folk and bluegrass, and I think particularly female songwriters, and
Yes.
I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
I don't know, it's funny, I actually didn't know that Dolly Parton was such a crazy songwriter until I recently read a book about Dolly on Dolly, and it has a bunch of interviews with her, and it's a really wonderful book because you learn so much. She's a very secretive and private person, but you learn so much about her, and she's written thousands of songs, thousands and thousands of songs, and for other people, other artists in Nashville too, and like a lot of the early hits in like the 60s and 70s. She went to Nashville in her 20s, and she wrote tons of hit songs, and so she was kind of known as a songwriter before she was known as like Dolly Parton. But she's a really great songwriter. She has some wonderful hits, and like even some things that, like I'll sing Dolly Parton songs. People have no idea it's a Dolly Parton song, and it's just like this really sweet secret little song that I found just because I'm obsessed with Dolly Parton. But it's a wonderful song, and it just didn't make the hit list.
That's true. That's the same with Joni. When I first started learning guitar, I was 13 and I hated it. Kendra stuck with the fiddle since she was 5, and she was ready to be a fiddler. I jumped from the piano to maybe the bass to maybe the fiddle to blah blah blah, and I just couldn't get into it. I wanted to be the singer, right? Trumpet. I actually became a pretty good trumpeter in high school, but I finally settled into the guitar when I first learned California by Joni Mitchell, of course, In Case of You. Then my sister introduced me to that, my big sister, when she was in college, and from then on it was love at first sight. And Blue is still my first and foremost album. I'm now reading her biography by David Yates, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's changing my life. I'm listening to each album as I read through the book. It's chronological. There is no genius like Joni, and I aspire to be like that, someone who reflects the society to other people. I want to show what's in my brain so that they can process their own. I see people hurting, and I'm such a sponge, and I want to help them find their way through it. And I've hurt a lot too, so I want to share where I've been. Now, I also don't like it when people ignore how they feel and they stuff it down, because I've seen how that destructs, and I want them to open it up and say, okay, I'm going to deal with this. And if my music can help them do that and feel like they're not alone, that's the best for me. That's number one.
That's beautiful.
That's what I write.
When we do these interviews, we like to kind of ask, like, one of the things we're really about is telling women's stories and kind of the stories of women specifically, and like what would you kind of like want to share with either like growing artists or just like fellow artists or like other people who are just trying to make art. It doesn't have to be women specific, but you know, what are you looking to share when you're telling your own stories, when you're telling the stories of the people who inspire you, when you're making your art?
I teach private guitar, and I've taught 4 or 5 young women who are also actors in the arts, and the one thing that they have in common is that they all feel like they want to express themselves, but they don't have the power to do so. Which, the power being that they can accompany themselves. So giving them musicianship changes their lives. And it's such a difficult task to learn an instrument when you're older, when you're a kid, anytime. I meet so many women who feel weak in the arts, who feel like they can't put their voice out, and who feel weak in their lives. And I want to empower them so much. I want to empower kids to do that too, to say, hey, this is what I think, this is what I feel. I'm going to write it down, I'm going to sing it. it makes me so happy, and I work so hard to give people encouragement and strength to do that. So if you're an artist and you feel like you have something to say, you do have something to say. It doesn't matter who listens or what they think about it. Don't let that rule what you put down. The greatest artists never let that rule what they put down. Beethoven, they thought he was crap, and he died thinking that he was a failure. Joni Mitchell, when Blue came out, people said it was too emotional. It shelved. And then it went down as one of the 3 female albums chosen from the whole 21st century to be in the Hall of Fame. There were only 3 women who went in the Hall of Fame. Joni Mitchell's Blue went in. So just forget it. Forget what other people say. Put down what you care most about. That's it.
I could go on and on about this, but I think that I definitely don't think that there are as many opportunities for women in the arts. I think we're just transitioning. The mindset is transitioning. You know, a mindset that like we should be filling these bands with women in equal, you know, equally represented, and not just gender, you know, all the different minorities. And I'm not the long-legged blonde singer. I'm a short musician, and so I think like trying to push outside of that and get those jobs has been a little tricky sometimes.
Sure.
And a few years ago, I started a group called the Snowy Mountain Sisters.
Yes.
We're an all-female bluegrass band. Brittany is the guitar player for us. And we've had women come in and out of the group. It's more like a club, so whoever's available plays.
A strong club.
But it's a very strong group of women, musicians, actors, but women in the arts. And I created the group because I felt like I needed support. I felt like I needed friends and support from people who knew what it was to be a woman in the industry, and just kind of a support group to help me be a braver artist and a braver creator and booker, and just have a stronger stage presence and more of a confidence in the industry. And that group has, first of all, they've been some of my best friends in my life, and you know, and been such a support system creatively and in the theater industry as well. And we've made some really good music, and most of all just been there for each other and strengthened each other. And so I think finding if you feel like you're struggling, or if you feel like you're alone, I think finding a support group is good, because they will make you stronger. But there are things that need to be fixed and done in the art industry, in theater and film and music, and I think we as women just need to stay strong and continue creating and stick together and be fair-minded and all those good things.
And I would just second everything that you said were your goals for the Snowy Mountain Sisters truly happened. We would play a gig, and afterwards, I can't tell you how many times this happened, guys would come up very politely and say, I didn't think you guys would be very good because I heard it was an all-girls band, but you guys were amazing.
And we were like,
thank you
so much.
Why did you think we weren't very good? Because we're all girls. I don't know. And I will say, like, Kendra never let anybody play with us who couldn't keep their snuff. We all made each other better by playing together. We took care of each other's weaknesses and strengths. These women are incredibly talented. I'm very lucky to be in a group, in a minority, like not a lot of female guitarists. Like there are, but not a lot of bluegrass female guitarists. So I don't think that I could have kept up with a band if that hadn't been the case. So
I made it a rule that you can't just show up and sing a song. You have to bring an instrument,
play all the songs,
and you have to play the songs, and you gotta pick out the harmonies, and you have to be a part of the team, because you know, we had so many wonderful, talented women want to be part of the group, but they wanted to come and they wanted to sing, and I was like, no. See, that's not what this is. Like, we're pickers. Like, we're proving something.
The most important definition of the day is picker.
Right?
For anyone wondering. Tell me all the things that we want to know about where we can find you, how people can support you, blah blah blah. All those fun things. So
Facebook. We are the Brook Sisters. That's B-R-O-O-K. No E, no S, just like the string. I'm at Brittany Brook _ Guitar Girl. That's A-N-Y, like the France area, not Britney Spears. I'm on Spotify. This is the anniversary of our album. It's called The Way to the Lighthouse. Kendra's album is coming this fall. Woo! Kendra Jo Brook. You can support me on patreon.com/BrittanyBrook.
Yay.
And also Snowy Mountain Sisters on Facebook. That's at Snowy Mountain Sisters. Because we grew up under the Snowy Mountains.
If you can't spell, all of this stuff is going to be in the description box.
Yes. Thank you so much, you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. You guys are amazing.